Okay, here's your step-by-step on how to list a condo. I will do a separate video on how to list a freehold property. Once you're logged into MLS, simply click on the Identify button here before clicking on search on your home page. While that's happening, if you click on search properties, and on the left-hand side, you will see a button for Geo Warehouse. While this loads, I want you to open up Geo Warehouse as well, okay? And in Geo Warehouse, you can go ahead and once it does load, search for the property address in the search box here. Okay, I've searched by name to make it easy for me. And I'm using this specific property that I own because there's an error, and I want to show you what happens in a situation like this. So the actual condo I intend on listing, once I'm on Authentisign, I will hit Create Transaction Kit. And in here, I'll write 3803. See, I already created a dummy one. So this is going to be the final one as an example. If you're part of the office, you will have access to all of my templates. So all you do is look for 200 condo for sale listing because this is a condo, okay? Import data, leave blank, use wizard, leave blank. And if you're the listing salesperson, you can go ahead and click that off. Now, what this will do is it will automatically import all of my documents that I use when listing a property. So let's give this a second. Okay, and you can fill this if you want to, but I would just go straight to the form section. And in the form section, all of my documents are pre-populated here for you. So first thing you want to do is go to the ID form. If there's one client, you'll need one form. You can delete the other. You may want to leave both anyway. This is not a form that gets signed. This is something that you need to satisfy. And you would have already been FinTracked by our office, so you know exactly what this form is. And again, many of the things that you have to look over are already pre-populated, ready for you to go ahead and just fill out. Okay, so I'm not going to go over this form, but it is there for your convenience. And once you're FinTracked, you'll know exactly what this is. So starting off with the first document, in the next video I will do, or in another video rather, I will do a line-by-line review of the working with a realtor and the listing agreement documents like I did the agreement of purchase and sale freehold. So that'll come later. But for now, what you can see is I've actually annotated and marked up the working with a realtor document. So because it's a listing, it's going to be a client, okay? And so the client's name will go here. You have to fill that in. Client will be initialing here to signify that they have signed a representation agreement, a listing agreement, which is a representation agreement in this situation. And that this is basically a summary of that relationship. So initials and signatures. So just need to put in the name and you go to the next document. So the listing agreement is the key document when it comes to listing a property. On the top, you have either MLS or exclusive. If it's MLS, this is where the client will initial. If it's exclusive, then it won't go on MLS and the client will initial here. So all you need to do is put in the information for the client. So just for the sake of doing it, we're listing my condo, so I'll put my name. What you want to do is when you search the registry, you're going to want to take the name right out of the registry. So you can see my middle name is in here. Okay, and the property address is, so if there's two people, you can see here there's an and, okay? Now, in this particular situation, the property address is 3803, 30 Grand Trunk Crescent, okay? If today's the 14th and I create this paperwork, I want the commencement date to be tomorrow because I don't want to lose any days on market in this particular situation. There are a couple of nuances here, so if you need more information on this, do give me a call. And then the expiry date, I'll usually take a 3-month listing. So 1, 2, 3, and then I'll take it to the end of the month, okay? This specific box is required if and only if the listing exceeds 6 months. So if you don't, oops, I clicked on the wrong thing. So if you're signing these documents electronically, your client won't be able to initial this. But sometimes if you're printing out documents and doing this with your client at the office or in person, it may be good to just use the annotation tool and delete that specific section so the client can't even mistakenly initial that off. Or if you don't want it to be so wide, specifically take it into the box so that nobody can even by error initial this. Okay, it looks bad when clients initial in places where they shouldn't be initialing. And so you want to be very mindful of that. This is a newer box in one of the recent forms provided by Aurea. So in here, this is basically signifying that the seller has not signed another exclusive or MLS listing with another listing brokerage, which would be highly problematic because you can only list with one brokerage at a time, unless it's a co-listing, also something I'll cover later. So let's say I want to list this condo for, I don't know, I've done a separate video on CMAs, which I'll link back later. Okay, so here, make sure the words and figures auto-populate and everything's correct. Your client will be initialing here to signify that they have not listed with somebody else. The commissions, you can change. We don't regulate commissions. It's anti-competition. So if you want to charge 3%, 0.5% for you and 2.5% for the other side, that's your prerogative. We've got 5% in here. And when you read this, understand that this is not 5 plus 2.5. The total commission is 5, out of which, if there's a cooperating broker or a buyer broker, you'll pay them 2.5% out of the total 5%, leaving 2.5% with us and 2.5% with the other side. Now, key question, and when you're explaining this to a client, it's important. Sometimes the client will ask, well, what happens if your brokerage brings in the buyer? Well, in that particular situation, we would get the full 5%, not just the 2.5%, because if we were to take that buyer to any other property, we would get 2.5%, generally speaking, in accordance with the BRA. So there's no reason to take a haircut. I'm not an advocate for that. But if you need more information on this, we can definitely talk about it further. This is your holdover period, which I'll explain later again. We usually set it to 90 days, again, open to you changing. Now, in here, we've added a schedule. Most listing brokerages do not add a Schedule A, but we've gone ahead and done this for you. Now, the next document is going to be your listing agreement, Schedule A. So in here, these are things that we've drafted for your benefit to help you comply with the Real Estate Business Brokers Act 2002. Okay, so in here, again, you just fill in the different things. Okay, now, in this situation, me, as an example, as a seller, the spousal statements, either you strike or delete the ones that are inapplicable. So just change this to spousal statement. So I am a spouse, okay? But my wife is not on title. And so this is the applicable statement to my situation. The property is not ordinarily occupied by me and my spouse, who is not separated from me as our family resident. So it's not a matrimonial home for me. So this is my spousal statement, okay? It's also an indicator here that all the jewelry, prescription medicines, bills, things that can be compromised either from a theft perspective or a confidentiality and privacy breach perspective, it's indicated in here. Next thing I've made mention of is if a lockbox is being placed on the property, the client understands the implications that you may want to notify the insurer, because some insurance companies will have issues with lockboxes because they're a threat to security, the fact that it can be broken into, and you always want to make sure clients have informed consent, because when you do certain things, clients may not understand the implication of the things that they're agreeing to, and it's important that they do understand these things and provide informed consent when they're executing documents like this. On the next page, this is a very important one. So rental items, as a listing salesperson, you should always go to the basement and check out the furnace room. See if there's any rental tags or anything to that effect for the water softener, furnace, or hot water tank. To pay these different contracts out and have them closed off for the benefit of a buyer, if the buyer refuses to assume them in accordance with the agreement of purchase and sale, is very, very costly. We've seen payouts for a hot water tank and a furnace bordering $25,000. So you do want to make sure. And that's why we've added this in here. So we have different checks and balances. One, on the listing documentation. Two, when you go to the actual property, you'll be able to confirm if there's any rental items or not. And then three, in the offer as well. So that way, if ultimately there is a rental item, your client won't be able to say that they didn't know or that they didn't provide this information. It's all here. So again, just redact what you don't need, okay? So one being, there are no rental items. So this is a condo. I don't have any rental items. So I can go ahead and delete the rest of it. Okay, if the property is tenanted, we don't want to be responsible for serving the tenants at the property. So this is what that says. You can modify this if needed. If the property is not legally constructed, so this particularly relates to finished basement apartments or accessory units that, again, are not permitted, you want to make sure the client has informed consent, and you don't want anything coming back to you. So in this particular situation, again, it's a condo. We can go ahead and delete this. If the condo or property is less than 12 months, this specifically relates to a client who is selling or flipping a property within the first 12 months of closing it with a new builder. That has some serious ramifications from a tax, GST, HST perspective, and rebate perspective. So if that's the case where the clients recently purchased a property, you're going to want to defer them to an accountant and or lawyer who can tell them whether or not there's going to be problems for them with the CRA if they go ahead and list the property and sell it within the first 12 months. You do not want to be caught on the record giving advice like that. Always defer and have informed written consent. Again, this is an older Property Act card in 2007, so this can be deleted here. Okay, the whole point of the schedule is to fact find and verify the information. This is now ready to go. Now, the next one we have here is the MLS data sheet. So there's a seller direction. I'll come back to this one and explain it like I've explained some of the other documents in the past. But this is used when, for example, the seller says, I don't want to look at any offers until a specific date. You've got to be very careful and ask the seller specific questions. What if I get an offer for $10 million? You still not want me to show you that offer? This is critical that you make sure you interview the client to understand what their expectations are from the listing process. Because otherwise, if you have something like this executed and the clients don't appreciate the risks and or implications of the same, then it could come back and bite you later. So not a typical document, usually used when you've got a listing salesperson that's trying to drum up an auction-like environment with multiple offers and they set an offer presentation date. And is something that I would encourage you to talk to me about before you even go down the path of listing a property with a date like that, so we can discuss this and make sure you're on point with everything that needs to happen. Now, the next critical document is the MLS data sheet. So this is the actual document that gets posted onto the MLS. And this is what you would send our office and import from Authentisign if your systems are linked, so that it'll auto-populate and we just review it and submit it once you've got the paperwork. Okay, so first thing here is the ARN. So the reason I told you to pull up the geo is because the geo report will also have the assessment roll number here and the PIN number and all the things that you do need. So it's not cooperating with me, which is okay. Okay, so I'll show you another thing while we're here. What you can do is click on public records. Okay, and while that loads, might as well start filling in some of the gaps here. So first thing is the PIN number. So the PIN number is right out of geo. Okay, and you want to make sure that when you're dealing with a condo, for example, you're going to have multiple pins, one for parking, one for locker, and you want to make sure that the suite pin is the one that you're associating. Some lawyers make mistakes when they're allocating this on the registry, so always look at the level in the unit. Level 33, you're not going to find a parking on the 33rd floor, so this is probably the legal description. You can always verify this information by asking your client for the deed, but normally this information is sufficient. You'll find the maintenance bill, it'll have that information on it. And you'll be able to cross-check and reference those things. So in here, if I type in 30 grand trunk, put in 3803, this is MPAC's platform for public records, Municipal Property Assessment Corporation. They deal with property taxes for us. Okay, now in here, I have found my property. If you see the map, just click on the little blue house. Once you're at the little blue house, it tells you that I own the unit, and then I've got, looks like 2 parking and a locker, okay, with this particular unit. So what I can do now is I can go ahead and stick my ARN number in here, okay? Next thing is the area. So how do you find out the area, municipality, and community? If you click on search in MLS, just click on map search, hit continue, and under location, just type in the property address. Find, and you're going to have to zoom out just once. So under map layers, first thing is area. So this is obviously Toronto, but I want to show you and make a point of showing you so you know how to do this. Okay. And then if you further go back and add in another layer for municipality, it'll tell you that this is C01. And then the community, and you can see most people would have thought, hey, that would have been Toronto as well, but it's not. And here we have waterfront community. So you can zoom in so that you can qualify. Sometimes the pin is right on the edge and you have to be able to figure out where it is. Otherwise you'll end up in trouble when you're trying to map this on MLS and list it. So in here, I've got Toronto, and then this is going to be C01, and this is waterfront communities. And again, you just want to make sure you're doing everything correctly. So waterfront communities C1. Okay, this is now ready to go. So 3803, 30 grand trunk, I can take Crescent out of here and put it in the abbreviation section. Okay, postal code. Sometimes it'll be in the registry when you're looking. Okay, so here we have 3A4. Obviously, qualify all of this. When you're going through this document with the client, verify everything that's going in here. So this is the Infinity building, Infinity 1. How do I confirm? So MLS is great. Being a part of the Toronto Real Estate Board is a real treat. If you look on the left-hand side, it says Condo Corner. So this is a neat little place where you can log in and get some information. Again, it's all about fact finding. So if I go to the condo registry here, I can quickly log in. Okay, and once I'm signed in, I can just type in Grand Trunk. You can see here, so this is the address, 30 Grand Trunk. It tells you a lot about the property, okay? So Icon Property Management is a new property management company built by Conservatory Group, okay? And then Infinity 1 is the building name, like I said. So this is, again, going in, doing the cross-checking, making sure that the information is correct so you don't have any errors. Now I can go ahead and close this off. I'll do a separate video on doing the CMA for the evaluation. In here, Icon Property Management. Okay, Toronto Registry Office here. So go to Geo, and in Geo it says Toronto Standard Condominium Corporation. So the abbreviation would be TSCC 1855. So in this particular section, TSCC 1855. Now the legal level and unit, this is not 3803. A lot of people make mistakes here. So you got to go to Geo, and you can see what the actual associated pin is. So this is 33. Unit 3. So when I'm going in here, level 33, unit 3, okay, and under the apartment section, 3803. Now, the reason I use this specific property is because you'll note in public records, it's 3803, but in Geo Warehouse, my lawyer, when they registered the property, they got the wrong detail here. The legal descriptions are correct, but now this causes confusions because it's actually 3803 and not 3802. So that's why I use this as an example, because there are errors and you're not always crazy. Sometimes it's just an issue. So here, intersection. Okay, now this will auto-populate list price. Okay, taxes. So because the property is in Toronto, all you need to do is ask your client for a tax bill. Now we're in 2020. So the 2020 tax bill isn't out. It'll be the interim bill. You can go up to 2 years back. So there's two things you can do. One, ask your client for the 2019 tax bill, which the client should have. And you can also cross-check the details by Googling Toronto Property Tax Calculator. And once you click on this, click Continue. From MPAC, and that's why you want to leave these tabs open because you'll need the information. It gives you the assessed value for 2019. You can go ahead and close this one now. Okay, so in here, proceed. Now, in a couple of weeks, this is going to disappear because 2020 will be interim billing, at which point you're going to have to Google the actual tax rate and do a reverse calculation. So once I do this and hit calculate, this tells me the taxes. I will always print this for my client file, so I have a record that I did this search, and then I will cross-reference this with the actual taxes that the client indicates to me. So this is 2019. Make sure your year is always correct. Assessment and year, if you want that information, it's on the property line. I normally don't put anything that I don't need to put. So in this situation, I don't need that. Contract commencement date, my listing's going to go up tomorrow. This automatically pulled out from the listing. Let's say my possession is, I don't know, 30, 60, 90, whatever it is. You can put in whatever the date is. If the property is tenanted, you have to be very careful. I'll do another video on that. So here I might say 30/60/90 and signify that, you know, whatever the dates are. Holdover will be as per the listing agreement. Okay, no shares in this particular situation. Maintenance, you want a copy of the monthly invoice that the client gets from the condo corporation, and then you'll put the maintenance fee in there. So let's say mine is 586.75. If you know the exact maintenance fee and you know the exact square footage, if you don't know the exact square footage, you can click on the little dollar sign and pick up the RFAR. There's a really nifty calculation you can do then to calculate the dollar per square foot for maintenance. Just make sure that in your building, the utilities, for example, cable are not included, things are not included. It's just the bare bones for the condo. Because once you've got that calculation, you can go back now and using simple arithmetic, calculate all of the exact square footages for all of the other units that you might be comparing your property to. So I'll link that video later when I eventually complete it. I have a similar video in the training, so if you're one of our agents, refer to that specific training session. Now in here, this is a condo apartment, okay? It's an apartment building. The exterior is concrete, garage is underground. I have in this situation 2 garage spaces underground, okay? So total is gonna be 2, it's gonna look like this. Now here they are specifically owned. Now, when it comes to the parking information, always confirm with the client what the status is, which one's which, because you may not be able to differentiate between the locker and the parking. Always confirm that and get that information so that it's accurate. Now in here, let's just say 56A and 81A. So in here, I can put A, 56, and then you just fill out all the other stuff. Okay. Now, next thing, exposure. So this is the side that the side of the that the balcony faces. So in this particular situation, my condo faces the CN Tower. So it's going to be northeast. Balcony here, enclosed means that it's actually closed up. Usually they're going to be open. Okay, so if it's open, pick that. Special designation in this particular situation is unknown. Okay, approximate age is not required. Square footage is required, and you're going to want the source. So I would spend the $5, get the RFAR. Depending on the size of the property and the client that you're dealing with, they might have the closing package that they got from the lawyer and the marketing material from the builder. So you can always go back and confirm. In phase 1, you learned how to do all those lovely calculations so you could actually verify the square footage. If you're using some sophisticated virtual tour companies today, they can actually create a floor plan for you as well. So in this particular situation, my condo is between, let's say, 779 square feet. In here, I can put source RFAR. It's the residential floor area report that I would have purchased from Property Line. Okay, anything else I want to put in here, I will. I will confirm with property management and seller what's included in the maintenance fee. So in this building, heat is included, hydro is included, water is included, cable is not, condo taxes are, central air conditioning is, common elements are, building insurance is, parking is. This is one of the older condos built back in 2006, 2007, when it was common for builders to still give you all of the utilities included in your maintenance fee. Now in here, this is the total number of rooms in the property itself, okay? So I usually like to fill this one out last. Let's say this is a 2-bedroom, okay? The plus is for any dens, 1 kitchen, okay? And I have 2 washrooms. So 1 washroom, which is a 4-piece. What does 4-piece mean? I've got a sink, I've got a tub, a shower head, and a toilet. So I've got a 4-piece, and F is for flat. Now I have a 1 3-piece. What's a 3-piece? I've got a toilet, I've got a sink, and I've got a standing shower. So that's a 1 3-piece flat. So there's 2 more rooms here, okay? Family room, no. This is asking if you've got a wood burning stove. So in this situation, no, or a fireplace. Okay, basement, obviously none. Gas, forced air, you verify all these things. In my condo, the pets are restricted. We have ensuite laundry, we have central air conditioning. The locker is owned. You put the description again here from the record. Now, in here, I'll start filling out. So the first thing is level flat. So first room is going to be kitchen. Okay, you can put, and you got a note here that these are meters. Your measurements have to go in meters. MLS does an automatic conversion. Okay, and in here, I know, for example, I have stainless steel appliances. The codes for these specific sections are all in here. Okay, so you're supposed to use these codes when it comes to the data that you're putting into this section here. So I have stainless steel appliances. I have an open concept kitchen, and I have a breakfast bar. Okay, next thing is flat again. I have the living, which is combined with dining. Okay, I have a walkout to balcony here. Okay, and I have laminate flooring. Next room, living, I have dining. Okay, so this is combined with living, and again, laminate flooring. Next is flat again. I have my master. So in my master, I have a window, I have a closet, and I have laminate. Okay. Next, flat again. Or that's it. So kitchen, living, dining, master. Oh, second bedroom. So flat, second bedroom. Again, window, closet, laminate. So now that I've done this, you can see I've got 5 rooms to report here. So I can add 5 in here. Okay. Now, what does a room qualify as? It's all these things here. So you can actually add more, but I like to keep it the main rooms in this particular situation. You would be able to add more, but I don't see the point in this instance. Now, once you've got all that, make sure your measurements are correct. Measure them yourselves. If you can, in here you put all the remarks. Don't put anything derogatory, discriminatory. Do not write things like contact listing agent in the remarks for clients. You're not able to solicit contracted clients, so any sort of remark like that will get flagged in here. Same thing here. And then remarks for brokers. So in the extras, I'll usually put in the existing appliances that are being included in the sale. In here, I'll just simply say, please attach Schedule B, and thank you for showing, and any other remarks that might pertain specifically to a broker. Now, sometimes when you're dealing with a brand new property, the taxes are not yet assessed. So here you're going to have to write 0. MLS is not going to be okay with that. Toronto MLS won't be okay with that. In the remarks, you're going to have to write property taxes not yet assessed, in which case it would be okay. Okay, in here, make sure everything's accurate. 8240788. You want all the information in here. Similarly here, you want to make sure that the fax number goes in. You've got the brokerage details here. If you've got somebody else, you add them in here. Seller property information statement, no. As per my listing agreement, I've got a 2.5% commission. So I'll add that in. Status certificate, that's yes if you've got it now. Right now I don't have one. I will have one, and then I'll change it. Distribute, yes, yes, yes. Sure, people can contact me. Contact the seller after expired, no. The property in this particular situation, let's say it's vacant hypothetically, and then here I'm going to upload my own photos. So this is now ready to go ahead and be signed. If you're going to sign it electronically, click on File, Exit. And from here, you can click on Signings, Add, and call this Listing 3803 Listing Paperwork. Save and hit Go New Signing. Once you do this, under the participants, add yourself, add the landlord. Okay, so I'm just going to add myself in for the sake of showing you how to follow this through. Documents. Okay, documents in this particular situation. So I'm just doing this again, not correctly, just to get through this exercise. You can add in your client's details. In here, working with a realtor, listing agreement, schedule, and the data sheet, I will add. I will go ahead and design. Once I've sent this out, after designing it, before hitting send, so again, you can just fill all these things out. This is why the new system is so great. Again, just for the sake of getting through the prompts here to show you what ends up happening here. Once you've marked up the documents, you can go ahead and hit signing. In the signing, I will put the subject line as listing documents. And then in the actual context box, I will put in listing documents in a small explanation. And I will simply say, Mr. Rathor, I will give you a call to discuss these documents prior to execution. I don't want the seller to go ahead, open up these documents on their phone and simply sign, initial, and then in 5 seconds after signing it, they send it back to me after I literally just send it out. What you want to do is send it, make sure they haven't signed anything, give them a call, and then in your diary, you make a log that at 6:37 you sent the documents to Mr. Rathor. And you called Mr. Rathor after that and spent the next 15 minutes going through each provision of the contract so they had informed consent and knowledge. Log that all in your diary, have the client sign it, the documents come back, send it to the office as soon as possible so that they can broker load, because our office does all of that for you. You don't have to spend any time doing this on your own. So the next video to follow should be on how to list a freehold property, and we'll take it from there. Bye for now.